Hi, this is Jeremiah, and I just wanted to share what I've been working on for the past couple of years. I've been working on AI for several years now. My prior systems were mostly focused on decision making, but in the last couple of years, I've been trying to create something that actually simulates intelligence, the entirety of intelligence, from the point of observing things to deciding on actions. When you think about how our minds work, um, we start by perceiving our environment and we break down the pieces of what we see and feel into different concepts. And we categorize those concepts and we try to understand the relationships between those concepts. And we then plan actions based on what we're motivated to do and our options for what we can control in our environment. And so that's all stuff that I tried to incorporate into this. And as you can see here, I am capturing video from a web camera on the top left of the screen. If you see those little orbs that keep appearing, that is the system automatically creating collision spheres when it breaks up the different pieces of the image. And so uh, what you see right now is you see that the image is going into the system. I'm just using external software to get the image into the system, by the way. And then LifeAI is taking that image and it's trying to break it into pieces. And it's storing those different visuals into different concepts that have different numbers by default. And I can also send any kind of data I want to the system. Could create entirely new properties other than color and position information. For example, I could feed temperature information or the height of something into the system, and it'll take note of that. So I also use Google's external software for speech recognition and for also reading out speech. So I'm going to send a message to my system um, right now just through text. So I'm going to say that one of the concepts that you see on the screen, let's say concept 12, is named Jeremiah. And so you can send data to the system in a pretty natural kind of language. You can see Jeremiah actually reading up on the top left now when it's recognizing the same image that concept 12 was before. And I can go ahead and create a new property if I want to, like I could say new property named height. And then I can say something like Jeremiah height set to 6 because I'm about 6 feet. And so now it created a record of my height that is set to 6 feet. And so it's preserving that memory and it preserves records of data that you feed into it. And not only that, but it also deletes old records automatically through a cleaning process. And if it doesn't observe the same concepts that it creates as new concepts in multiple times, it'll also delete extraneous concepts that may just be bad, visual information, things like that. And what it also does is it'll create interactions, like it'll record like my proximity to another concept, and it will see if something changes about me. If my temperature changes because I'm close to a stove, then it'll realize that there might be a relationship between how close I am to that stove and my temperature changing. And so it can do that, and it can also create categories for each based on similar properties. Like if I'm a similar color as something else, similar size, for example, then it may create a category based on that. And You can also save all the information, like I can say save file, and what it does is it'll actually create a spreadsheet file. Let me see if I can bring that up real quick. And so you can see that there are different concepts that have been created so far, and you can see my name down here as well. And you can go to the properties for me, and you can see that property name height that was created for me. We'll open that up, and you can even go into the actual records of that. And you'll see it takes a record of the time of that record and what it was set as, and as well as other information too. You can also see if it's created any interaction information. So this is the other concepts that could potentially be influencing my color. Other concepts in the background, for example, that could be influencing me, and what they're at when they're causing those changes. Now, aside from the things that I mentioned, it's also planning actions as we speak. I don't have any controls built into the system right now. So if I query it and I ask it what its current plan is, it can break apart a plan based on like 4 steps. So if I say, what is your plan? So its current plan is just to be idle for all 4 steps because I don't really have any controls set up or motivations set up right now. But it can basically plan out actions, and based on the different controls that you give it. Like, for example, if you have a car, you could tell the car to move forward, move backward as another control option, turn, so it supports pivoting controls. And it'll then try to, you can actually do pathfinding in a simple way. And that's partly why I have the collision set up, is so that it will actually go around what it thinks are obstacles. And those are just the basics of what I've been working on. I do plan to make more videos as time goes on. The reason I wanted to show this is because I reached kind of a milestone in my project where I have a complete feedback loop running now, as you can see in the background here. It's going from collecting the data and information. You can feed it messages, you can save files, you can it'll develop categories automatically, it'll form interactions, and it's going through and it's doing that, looping and just doing that constantly, kind of like an intelligence does. And obviously it's very crude, it's buggy in some ways, it's nowhere near as intelligent as a human being or anything like that at this point. But I don't know, maybe it's at a point where it could be comparable to some type of insect or something like that in its level of intelligence. I have no data to back that up because I don't know enough about insects, but it seems like it's a primitive working intelligence that has a complete feedback loop, and I'm pretty excited about that, and I hope to polish it further. And it'll take me a while to polish all these different systems so that they'll actually be ready for other people to make use of the system. Thanks for listening.